Good morning, everyone. So happy for everyone to be here. Let's wait a couple minutes for everybody to log in here. I'm starting about a minute early, but wanted to just get things set up. And super excited. I hope everyone is excited to be here. Today is day one of Pivot to Profit workshop that I have been thrilled to be putting together for many years. It's the culmination of all my years of just having a successful practice as a massage therapist and teaching other therapists how to take those same principles and be able to create a six-figure practice or whatever kind of practice really fit into their lifestyle and what they wanted. So I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled that all of you are here. We're gonna have a lot of fun this week, have some interaction with some of you, some live coaching, and so I'm really happy about that. I love doing live coaching and really supporting healers in having a very successful practice. So thank you for being here. You might see me looking down every now and then, covering my notes and just kind of seeing what your guys' comments are. So let's have fun with that. So anyway, all right, so the day one is all about filling your schedule consistently. And that is one thing that, you know, what has always been somewhat easy for me. However, there's been times when it hasn't been. And one thing that stuck out to me about 10, 12 years ago is right around the economy crash, is that a coach, I was kind of struggling with my schedule. My memberships had gone down by about 60% for people that had just either lost their jobs or what have you. And I had a coach tell me, he kind of looked at me and almost yelled at me. He's like, "You mean to tell me in a city of over 5 million people that you can't put 20 hours a week on your table?" And of all the 2 years of coaching that I had with him, that was the one thing that stuck out, is like, oh my God, yeah, you're right. Like 5 million people live in this city that I'm in, and I can certainly put 20 hours a week of clients on my table. And so from that moment forward, it's always been just this fun journey of knowing how to do that and consistently filling my table over and over, even when there's a crisis or anything going on, still being able to have that consistent schedule be filled without advertising, without doing a whole lot of marketing. I've never really promoted myself too much. And you know, being able to get to the point where I have a consistent schedule. So that's where we're gonna launch off. And one of the things that I like to get out of the way really, well, first let me go through what we're gonna go through for the week. So over the next few days, we're gonna cover, I'm gonna invite you to take action now, and to really challenge you to do each day's homework and each day the assignments that I give you, to work through the process so I can engage with each of you throughout the day, or maybe even after the live workshop. We're gonna do a little homework between, and I'm happy to work with any of you to do that. And then to be able to show up each day having done the homework from the day before, so you get the most out of each experience and each day that we're gonna put together. So day one is about filling your schedule. We're gonna talk a little bit today as well about some conscious communication to lead into tomorrow. Tomorrow will be all about conscious communication and how to really develop treatment plans, how to develop a script that always works, how to develop some of those questions that you wanna be asking. And then also, what are those transitions inside of the journey or the experience that you want to be able to take your client on, always building value for your client. Day three, we're going to talk about just how to strategically prepare, going from being an employee to a solopreneur in less than 30 days, if that's what you're working on, or just how to transition into ramping up your practice into being a, you know, more of your full-time thing, if that's what you're wanting to do. And then let's see here. So then day four, let's say creating your profitable practice, is really taking action now, and whatever, you know, tying up any loose ends that we've covered over the past few days, to just be able to take action now to end the week really solid. So you're ready to jump into this month and start having clients on your table already, or start bumping up having clients on your table, or whatever that, even if it's not on your table, if you're not a massage therapist. I know there's NLP practitioners in here, there's Reiki masters, there's a whole different group of healers. So the method works the same for all of you. It doesn't matter who you are as a healer in the alternative holistic healing. I may speak a lot to being a massage therapist or say things like being on the table, because that's been my background for so long, and it works for all of you. We'll cover more of that as we go along. And then last but not least, day 5, we'll really work at some live coaching, really designing your practice, and just again tying up kind of those loose ends to have you be able to walk away at the end of the week with a really solid structure in how to create a 6-figure practice if that's what you're wanting to do. So thank you again for being here, and I'm so excited to see all of you live. And let's dive right into day 1. So the first question I have that when I have started coaching someone is, what is the journey and the experience you are going to guide your clients through in this lifestyle of them being with you? And oftentimes I found that, that's not even really something that therapists or healers have thought about, is like, especially if you're just starting out, you've learned all your modalities, you may be masterful at what you're doing or incredibly gifted or talented. However, like, how do you go from having your modality into creating a practice and then to creating that experience and that journey for your client that creates that reliable, consistent schedule? And so that's really what I want you to just start to ponder, like, what is that journey and experience you're going to guide your clients through in the lifestyle with you? And we're going to cover a lot of that today and throughout the entire week. We're going to keep going back to that because it's such a crucial part of everything that we do. So, once, what I say is that once you really know what that journey and that experience is, it makes it really, really easy to start to consistently fill your schedule, because now you know all the communication that you're going to have from the moment someone starts engaging with you to scheduling them to that first appointment. What you're gonna start to plant some seeds of communication in, even that first appointment, that makes it a no-brainer that at the end, my goal always is my clients to say, when do I come back? They don't ask, how much do I charge? They're like, I've created such a value and such an experience in that first session that they want to know when to come back. But that journey and that communication has begun all the way from the very moment I first have that engagement with them. And so once you have that down and you know what that is, then it becomes really easy to start filling your schedule, to know exactly when your schedule is and so forth. All right, so let's see here, where are we at? All right, so the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to filling your schedule that I will always bring back to inside of my teaching and training is really supporting healers and I find this is what was also a lot of the comments that I was getting from you in this private group here, was being able to, yes, you have your healing, you have your modality, but then being able to feel worthy and ask for money and get paid for what you are worth. And so that is, for whatever reason, when it came to me being a massage therapist, and when I first did my research, when I first, the light bulb went off, oh, I could do that. I could be a healer. I could be a massage therapist. I did all my research and I found that massage therapists on average were earning $37,000 a year. And at that time I was just in my late 20s. That was honestly more than I'd really ever made. And so I'm like, okay, I could do that. So it was about $37,000 a year. My first couple of years I went in, and it was interesting because I was pretty much burned out at the time. I was already getting into massage just from having gone through, a divorce and just through working through corporate. And I was kind of at a low point, and I spent just a relaxed time that first couple of years really getting to know myself as a healer, and, just spending, I'd spend time at the pool and come in and work on a client or what have you, and just had a really light schedule. I worked from home those first couple of years. But then when I first opened my first office, I went from, I started just looking at what were other successful companies doing. And one of the first things I did was I noticed, McDonald's was running a special that summer for 3 hamburgers for 33 cents each for 3 hamburgers. And I'm like, oh, I could do that with massage, right? I could do 3 massages for $33 each. Didn't say how long they were. It was just a little A-frame sign that I put outside my office. And that year I did over $250,000 just from having that little A-frame sign up. Ended up having to hire a couple of other full-time therapists, a couple part-time therapists, just to keep up with that schedule and that load. But that taught me so much to start to look at what do others do. It doesn't even have to be in my industry that are really successful that I could turn around and work for myself. And so for this entire week of our training, I really want you to put on the mindset of this is what has worked for me, and I know a lot of it will work for you. And I want you to look at your modality and your specific specialty, and how can you take what I'm teaching you and then immediately start looking at how that's going to work for you inside of your practice and your business. That's where I feel like you'll get the most value out of our time together, and also out of what I'm able to teach you and share with you, is by being able to have that mindset of start looking at immediately, looking at what all I have done with my experience, and then how can you shorten that time frame for yourself where you can immediately start using that in your practice right now today. So when it comes to money, again, like I find that that's where the biggest gap is with a lot of healers, is being able to feel worthy to ask for money and be able to ask for the sell. And so when I bring that up first, because we're going to work on first, like knowing what you need to make, to what you need to make, then what you want to make, and then also what's realistic and stretches you to be able to do that. Being able to know that first, then we kind of work backwards to know how we need to fill your schedule. And I've always done it that way, because at first I needed to know, like, what was my bottom line? What did I needed to make to cover all my expenses, to cover my overhead? And then how many hours did I actually need to work to make that happen? Anything over that then became bonus money. That was like money that I got to take great trips with. I got to create a particular lifestyle. I got to drive the cars I wanted to drive. And so I always knew what my bottom line is. And so that was what I started to focus on, not how much money I needed to make, but I focused on how many hours a week I was scheduled with clients that filled my bottom line, and then everything that was over that I knew was going to be my bonus. So that's why we look at how much money do you want to make and how much money do you need to make to be able to get that out of the way, and then let's work backwards to be able to then to create the schedule that you need, and then to fill your schedule. So that being said, I want you to just think about and this is going to be part of the homework that we're going to cover as well, but feel free to definitely put in the comments and start just to have some of those things, start to answer some of those questions. So even if I don't respond right now on live, I will definitely respond to them later and engage, and this will be kind of an ongoing conversation all day today as well as all week. And so start looking at, what do you want to accomplish right now in your practice? I'm just going to go through a couple of questions and maybe start just answering some of those in the live, but also write those down, and this will be part of the homework that I'll post on later as well. So what do you want to accomplish right now in your practice? What are your goals for the next 30 days, 90 days, maybe even for the next year in your practice? What are you currently earning now if you're working full-time on doing something else? And if that's your current full-time income, are you wanting to transition full-time into your healing practice, or do you need to bump up your healing practice to actually replace maybe a part-time income? So here's a good one. So what is the pricing that you're going to have for each of your services, and how much time is required for each service? And then we're going to work backwards, like I said, to be able to fill your schedule based on that information. So that's really important for you to start looking at that, and I want to see some feedback on that so we can engage with that and just see what some of those answers are with everyone. So I'm just gonna quick look down there and see what we got going on. Hi everyone, thanks for being here. Nadine, Tisha, Riley, Brandon, yay. All right, so let's keep moving on here. All right, so pillar one that we're gonna cover today, we're gonna cover 4 pillars basically each day. And pillar 1 today is going to be on creating your income. So that was the first section of that. So start looking at answering some of those questions, because then it's gonna help us be able to start filling your schedule and knowing exactly what that looks like, how many hours that needs. So again, go back to, it takes the money out of your site. Like, you're not worried about now how much money you need to earn. Now you're actually coming from a place of, how you can serve and how many people can, for me again, it was like how many people I can be on my table, or how many, how many appointments do you need every week in your schedule to be able to take that concern out. So that way my focus is always on, oh, I've got 3 hours that I can still schedule in my schedule this week, or that I can still put in my schedule this week. And so that energy and that attention is what I'm on, is filling that gap in those holes in my schedule. It's never been about how much money can I make, because for me that was always, an interruption of me being able to really give fully into the client, to my sessions, being present. So that's pillar one, creating your income. And those are the questions that I want you to start just looking through and answering with that right now. The next part, pillar two, is going to be create your schedule. So once you know exactly what that income is that you want, what you need, and then what's going to stretch you a bit, then you can, and what your pricing is for each of your services, then you can start looking at, okay, so let's say, that you need to make $6,000 a month. And depending on what your pricing is, then you look at what is that going to be divided per session time or per hour or what have you. And then how many of those are you able to fit into your schedule? And then you just start to fill the gap from there. So when it comes to filling my schedule, I have a 2-option rule. Excuse me. It's made it really, really easy. Once someone initially calls me and they're talking to me, I know how quickly, I always kind of am competitive with myself. So I always looked at how quickly could I give a client that first called me that knew nothing about me. Maybe they'd come to me from a referral, or maybe they saw me, from my sign, or maybe they have seen me on Yelp or Google or something like that, or they found my website. That's all the information they really know. But I wanted to be able to address so quickly in that first 1 to 2 minutes what they needed to know to be able to book with me, to make sure that we were a good fit, that they knew where my location was, that we'd already scheduled their appointment, and we were off the phone that quickly. I knew that if I really extended it much longer than that, every single time that happened, they didn't end up being booked. So I was always really laser focused on listening to why they were calling, what their needs were, how quickly inside of my communication that I could address their needs, their concerns, book them, and get them off the phone within 2 minutes. 1 to 2 minutes was always kind of my goal. And anytime it went over, like I said, 5 minutes, every time, I don't know why, they would never end up scheduling. So that's why I really hone in so much on communication the entire process, from the time, again, like I said, the time that they're on the phone with you and scheduling or getting to know you, to them now being at that first appointment, to them now being, sitting there with you if you're a coach, or being on the table if you're a massage therapist or a Reiki master, or if you're sitting there doing an NLP practice. Any of those things, like what are those little pieces of communication that you can really fine tune and make super powerful? You're always planting those seeds, and that goes back to just knowing your journey. What is the entire journey and experience you're going to be taking your client on? So when I gave them 2 options, now that I know what my pricing is, now that I know what days I'm going to be working, so again, that's the first thing in looking at filling your schedule, is what are the days you're going to be working, what are the times you're going to be working, and how much you need for each of those times. So that way, I'm taking that, again, like the money, I'm taking that out of my head, out of my space. I don't have to worry about any of that, because I can say exactly my hours are Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Wednesday through Saturday right now. So I'm Wednesday through Saturday. My hours are 12:30 to 5:30. And so that's the first thing right there. They know now what my days are, they know what my hours are, and we're gonna look at fitting them inside of that. And I'm gonna have my schedule already in front of me, and I'm gonna give them 2 options always. So it's gonna be, okay, it looks like I have Wednesday at 2 o'clock, or I have Saturday at 11:30, which works best for you? And I ask that very directly, because it gives them the choice then to say yes and schedule immediately, versus them saying, I'm not really sure, let me look at my schedule, I'll get back to you. If I've had people say that to me, that means one, I wasn't a good fit, I didn't give them enough information, I gave them too much information, or my pricing wasn't right for them. And somehow or another, I missed creating the value in that first phone call that had them say that. And so to be able to get off the phone with anybody when they call and to schedule them immediately, like that's valuable. If you already have somebody reaching out to you, you gotta, like, for me, that was super powerful and super value, and I wanted to stay with that. And so let me just check here and make sure we are still live. Okay, good. Looked like it was cutting out for a second, but we are good. So that's the first thing I want to do. And then from there, this allows your client to give you a very direct answer. And again, that's part of the entire process, as guiding them as the healer through the entire experience that you're taking them on. So I look at very direct ways of communicating to my client that's going to make it easier for them. All right, so now I'm gonna give you this example. This is what I say when someone first calls me, not when they first call me, but when I basically have gone through that with them. And maybe they ask, they might ask like, well, what are we gonna do in that first session? Or how many sessions do you think it's gonna take before I get, the result that I wanna get? And I always say like, I start to put the responsibility back on the client. So I bring my gifts, I bring I trust the process, I bring my intuition, I bring my being an empath. And I can only do as much as I can do, and I really put the responsibility back on the client, and I do that through their breathing. And I tell them, even on the phone, I'm like, we only move as quick, for myself, I only move as quickly in the session with you as you're able to process and work on your breathing. So your job on the table, and I say it usually in this first phone call or this first interaction, and then I say it again when they're actually at their appointment, to remind them, is like, your job on the table is to focus on your breath. The more you can breathe, the more you can move into maybe the point of pain or anything that comes up during that session, the more you're able to move past it, move back into that point of pain, surrender, move past that. So you actually have that long-lasting freedom and harmony in your body that you're looking for. And so your job on the table is to focus on breathing. And so whatever your modality is, whatever that's going to be for you, just start thinking about how are you gonna, transition or have that sentence be for yourself that's going to create that partnership with you and your client. And it's gonna look different for everybody, kind of whatever that is, but it definitely takes for me, it always took the pressure off of feeling like I was responsible for fixing everything, and it created a partnership now we were in this together and we were working together. And when I started doing more and more of that and transitioning to that especially over the past 10 years, it made things so much easier when I was when clients were on the table with me. So let's see here. So pillar 3 is, and we've already kind of talked a little bit about this, so let's just go back really quick here to pillar 2, which is create a schedule. So again, it's knowing what your times are knowing what your times are as well as your days, how much space also you need between every session. So for me, initially I started out with just 15 minutes between appointments, and then over years that was too little. And now I give myself a half hour between every session. And I limit my hours now I try to do no more than 5, but I'm still around, sometimes around 6. But 4 to 5 is a real comfort level for me now. Having almost at my 20-year mark, that's a real comfort level for me now. And so I know that time frame really works best for me. So know your schedule. The days that you're working, know your times that you work in. So again, like the money, you're taking that out of your sight. So when you get that customer on the phone, again, that's one less thing you have to think about, and you can be really laser focused in your communication. So pillar 3 is creating that confident communication. And again, I think this goes back to, when I've spoken with, different schools or different teachers that have taught their modalities. the biggest gap that they've mentioned is for healers to be able to go then out into their practice and confidently speak into what they offer and how to create that experience confidently with their client. And that is definitely something we're going to talk about all week long, because that has been, I would say, like the secret sauce to why my practice has been so successful over the years. Yes, I know that I do great work. However, I know that I don't care what kind of a healer you are, what modality you have, how much training you've even had, when you can really bring the communication and the confidence of that communication to your practice and to your speaking and to your client, it makes them trust you so much faster. It makes them want to work with you so much easier. And it makes, creating this longevity with your client and creating this this journey and experience with your client so much easier. So we're gonna work on that all week long. It's such a beautiful tool to have in your tool belt. So some of the first things I want to, let's see here, let me just look. Yeah, so when it comes to confident communication, when I know already the journey and the experience that I'm going to take my clients on, I can start already gently planting seeds the entire time of what that is. Like, I know now over time, and I probably about at least 12 years that I've been able to speak this into my communication with my clients, 12 to 15 years almost. But I did enough research and had designed my practice to be more like treatment plans. So I would do, when I first started this, I was doing like a 10 series session. So I'd have clients for 10 sessions over the 10 to 12 week period. And over time, I knew exactly where they would be based on just human evolution, where they would be at different times in their sessions based on how they reacted or responded in that first session. And that's where it came back to me putting the responsibility back on my clients of them really focusing on breathing during the session and moving through any pain points that we found in their body to be able to, take ownership of that. And then, it allowed them to move through the session much, much faster. And so that for me, that became so much easier. And I noticed that clients started to schedule a lot easier after that first session, when I could start to speak into where we would be at different points of the session. And so starting to maybe make some notes of that and notice where people will be in that journey is part of the confident communication. So that it was really easy for me to say to someone, based on the results we got today, or based on the results of how you responded today, I can tell you that somewhere between session 3 and session 4, maybe between 4 and 5, that I could be doing the same thing with you that I did in the first session, and it'll be completely different because now we've released some old muscle memory. Now you've gone out and you've created some new posture habits, you've created some new disciplines, you've maybe worked out, you've done yoga, you've noticed the differences in your body, and we've released old muscle memory, and now you've created this new muscle memory, and the experience that you had in today's session won't be anything like what you're gonna have in session 4. And so I'll plant that seed there, and then when I'm in that moment, back in that 3rd session or that 4th session, when I'm doing exactly what I had told them in that first session they would experience, I bring that back up to them. And it's always so funny, like they're like, no way are you doing either the same pressure or are you hitting that same point, because it feels so different now than I did. So being able to confidently speak into that experience and noticing that is huge. And I do, just a side note, like I do create that journey, that experience, and I do that through treatment plans because I don't want to be a one-stop shop for people. I do not want people to just see me one time, because I don't feel like, well, first off, I never really just did regular massage. I always looked at, doing body work and really bringing freedom and harmony into someone's body. And I know that just takes time. It doesn't happen, in one session. It might start to happen in 3 sessions with some people, but it's definitely going to take time for the body to begin to reset, at least with the kind of work that I do in my sessions. And so you want to just look for yourself. What is that journey you want to take them on? What is the experience they're going to have? Where are they going to be at different points in that life cycle with you? And then you can start to speak into that. I mean, how many times have you done any kind of either personal growth or experiences, or even watching a show? There's always that journey that you're being taken on. And that's the same thing that you can bring into your sessions with your clients, no matter what modality you're going to be bringing to the table. So start to, notice that, take some notes of, even today, start thinking about what are each of those points that you're going to be taking with a client. So maybe the first point is the first time you talk to them and finding out, how did they hear about you? Was it through a referral, or was it through maybe Yelp or Facebook, or did they see, or did they meet you out in public? So always knowing where someone comes. I like to track what my results are. I like to track, how any type of posting or marketing or anything like that is going. So I do know that. And then I'm going to ask them, tell me what's going on with your body. What would you like to address in this session? And that's where I can start to, I can tell them, based on what they told me, I can always add in there just a little bit about like, oh, that's great. That's one thing I really specialize in. I love doing that. Or I can already start to speak to, if it's something going on with the neck and shoulders, like I know that I'm a master at, neck and shoulder work. So I know that I can speak directly to, oh, that's one of my specialties. I absolutely love working on neck and shoulders. I have neurologists that come to see me. I have chiropractors that come to see me specifically for my neck and shoulder work. And so I'm speaking that confidently into, so now they know that I'm going to take care of them. So whatever that is for you, whatever that modality is for you, start thinking about how you're going to transition that particular language right there into that first conversation with them. Another one, I reiterate what their job is on the table. I iterate for sure that, after I find out, tell me what's going on with your body, and I find out what's going on with them, sometimes I'm going to ask some other questions inside of that, like, well, maybe when did that begin? When did that first begin? Or, after I ask that and they answer that, I'm going to ask them, what else was going on in your life when that happened? Because oftentimes I'm always looking to get to the source of why they have pain in their body, and I never just treat just the problem they have right now. I'm always looking at getting to the source of something happened in their body, there was some emotion they had about that, there was stories that started to create it about that, and that started to create the stress in their body, which resulted in the pain that they have now. And so I'm always going back to, I always want to know, when did it first begin, and what else was happening at that time, so I can always guide my clients in looking at the relationship between the pain in their body and between when it originally happened and maybe the trauma or the incident or the emotions that happened around that incident as well. And that works so well. I think that magnifies and expedites the experience that the client is going to have on at least on my table and in my sessions, is when we both know what that is, they can move through it a lot faster. And that's my approach to getting right into playing detective and, really working specifically on, yes, I know now what their pain point is, and now that energy can be stored anywhere in the body. So I'm not going to treat just what, where they're experiencing the most pain. Yes, I'm going to do my best to get them out of that pain in that session, and it's going to be a journey to be able to get there. So I asked them, so I trust that process. I know that process because I've been doing it long enough, and I also asked them to trust that process. So, and it's just a reminder, like for them, for my clients on the table, it's been, it's not always an easy experience. And I tell them that, I know that, and it's not easy being on my table. However, I trust the process, and I ask them to do that as well, because when I'm able to do that and they're able to do that, again, it just magnifies how much they get out of each session. And then, again, just saying again, like, when you create this communication and the entire journey that you're going to be taking your clients on, you're able to speak confidently at each of those points of communication. So today, part of your homework again is to look at what are each of those points of communication. So one we already talked about, when a client first finds you. One is maybe that that first call that you have with them or that first interaction. One is when they actually get to their appointment. Next is even during the appointment or during the session, what are those points of communication and those seeds that you're going to be planting? And then when that session is over, what is that transition from completing the session into what's going to be next for them in the journey to make it a no-brainer? So again, we've already taken the money out of the concern, we've already taken the scheduling out of the concern. Now you can just focus on just serving in that communication with your client to create that experience and that journey with them and transition them now into what's next. So those are like the beginning points of communication that you want to start looking at today to really jumpstart for tomorrow when we get into confident communication. All right, so now let's get into, so we've looked at the how to fill your schedule, we've looked at how much money you need to make, and then you've worked backwards to how many hours you need to have in your schedule each week to be able to accomplish that. Now let's look at a referral program that I started years ago, and this actually came, again, looking at what other successful people do, what has worked well for them, and then see how I can make it work for me inside of my business. And so it's a video referral program, and I'm not even gonna take credit for this, but I've used it and it works so well. So this is, I don't remember who initially told this to me, but it was a dentist he was looking at building his practice, and he had an agreement when new patients would come in that he would do the work with them, and if they ever had any kind of a problem whatsoever, they agreed to first, they would address it with him so he could correct it or fix it, which I thought was brilliant. And then number two, that at the end of the treatment, that he would do a little video testimonial, he would edit it together for them, and then they would send it out to 10 of their friends, and that's how he built his practice. And he never did any advertising, he was strictly just for referral, and I had a full practice from doing that. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so brilliant. Like, that really works. And in today's, this was like 10 years ago when I heard that. So in today's day and age, of course, like video marketing, video, anything is the way to go. And so how I've now set that up with clients, and you've probably maybe even seen some of my latest ones that I hit off, where, you know, I do the video, I do it at the end of a session, just a referral. I'll have some questions that I guide them through, and we'll go through that here in a second. And then I take that testimonial, I edit it down, make them sound really good, because you've probably heard, and even today, I don't even recognize it. I know that I say the word so a lot, I know that I probably use ums a lot, and so those are just filler words, so we take those out to make them look good. And then I might have like a little intro or outro. You don't have to do that, but just, you know, with your little bit of branding. And then I take that video and I use Canva as a way of editing. And it's so easy and so brilliant. It takes no time at all to take your video, plop it in there. You can add the extra words and everything on the sides. And you know, if you want more help with that, I can specifically, we're not gonna go into that here, but I can specifically show you how to do that. And it's super easy. And for me, I like being creative. It kind of gives me a little bit more of that creative outlet, and allows me to, you know, just play a little bit more creatively with some of those things. So I can definitely help you offline on how to do that, or we can just have a whole separate training on that, because it's super easy. But so we're gonna go through a video referral program. So the first thing the first thing to cover in that is this. So let's say that right now you're trying to fill your schedule, or you're maybe coming new into a practice, or you're transitioning, like a couple weeks ago when I was training an NLP practitioner, and I think a lot of you guys saw this video, she was transitioning from being a real estate agent and a broker to, she had done all of her NLP practices, she had done all of her training. I think she was a level 2 NLP practitioner by this point, so she had done all the training, but she had no idea what was next, how to fill her schedule, how to do the pricing, how to get people in, how to do anything. And so just through going through this entire process, by the end of the 4 days, she was completely ready. She knew all of those answers were filled, and she was already filling her schedule through this video referral program to start to build her schedule. So and again, I think I said it, but it's worth saying it again. When you create that agreement with your client to do a video testimonial at the end, their part of the agreement then is to send that out. Once you edit it and send it back to them, then they sound amazing and they love it. Their agreement then is to send that out to 10 of their friends and to post at least on 2 social media sites. So right there now, you've created a solid referral program. And if your schedule ever takes a dip down, you just put more people on you just find some people that you want to put on your table to be able to do that. Now, you can do that. I've done that with paying clients that are already paying me to be on my table. Or I've also done it specifically with strategic referral partners that I know can help build my schedule. And so here's what I mean by that. So I'm going to say, who do you know? So find people that you admire, or find people that admire and are already fans of yours. Okay? So make a list of those people. Find people who are promoters, who, they're the kind of people like myself. I'm a promoter, and I know that, if I watch a really good movie or if I eat at a really good restaurant, I am definitely going to share that out to everybody. I'll either post it on Facebook or I'll text some of my friends. I'm like, hey, you got to try this, or you got to watch this movie. I belly laughed so hard. It was so amazing. And so find your promoters. And then the last group is like find influencers, people who are active on social media. Also, I like to, when I first did this back in about 2011, I think is the first time I did this, I put a group of like 8 people on my table. None of them paid. My agreement was we would do the series, and then I would interview them before and after every session so I could start to gather some research, because I was transitioning from doing only 1-hour sessions into doing 2-hour sessions. And so I really wanted to research and measure the results of why it was so much better to do a 2-hour session with a client on the table than it was to do a 1-hour session. And as a little side note here, what I didn't realize until several years later when I had another coach point it out to me is that when he was looking at my numbers for during 2008, 2009, right around that time when I first started doing 2-hour sessions, I think it was about 2010 actually. But I had lost part of my clients from the housing crash. And he looked at it like, well, your numbers basically stayed the same. Yeah, they took a dip, but not a huge dip. And he's like, what did you do different? And I couldn't for the life of me figure it out. And then finally it was like, oh, that's when I transitioned from doing 1-hour sessions to 2-hour sessions. And my income basically stayed the same, but I was working with half the amount of clients. And I was like, wow, that was brilliant. I didn't even put it together at that time. So again, back to, I found 8 people to put on my table. 2 of them were chiropractors. 1 of them was a fitness trainer. I found an athlete, a couple business owners. And so I specifically had different kinds of people that I wanted to be on the table. And then my agreement was I would interview them before and after every session. And then at the end of the series, we would do another interview so I could get a full testimonial video with all of that. And then, I asked each of them to send those out after that. I went from, it was interesting because I already had a pretty full schedule at that time. And then I was doing all of these free sessions on top of that. However, what it did is that my schedule has never gone back since I implemented that in 2011. It's never gone back to where I couldn't quickly and easily fill my schedule by doing that. And even though I was doing all those sessions complimentary for free as a referral program, my schedule bumped up from there. It got so much busier because of that. And so that's what I want to point out to you right now. Like if you're in the space of either building your practice or you're transitioning from maybe, like the NLP practitioner was a few weeks ago from being a real estate agent, wherever you're at, look at who you can put on your table or your schedule right now that can be one of those partners. So it's either, again, like somebody who admires you, is a huge fan of yours already, somebody who is a promoter, or somebody who's already an influencer and they're big on social media, or they have a professional degree or something like that really would work or speak to the audience that you are working to heal. And so that's the first thing. And then you look at, so then you schedule them all out and exactly, again, the journey you're going to take them on. The end result that you're going to get is a video for the referral. So the questions you're going to ask them at the end of that session or at the end of the series that you're going to do with them, whatever the agreement is. I did 10 with half of those 8 people, with 5 of them, I did 10 sessions, 10 2-hour sessions. And with the other 3, I did 5 2-hour sessions, because I wanted to kind of measure the difference between them doing 10 sessions and 5 sessions as well. So I'm always looking at kind of measuring my results with almost everything that I'm doing, so I can always look at getting better and better and better at what I do. Even, right now, speaking into the current circumstances of COVID-19, my immediate thought process was, okay, how can I take this time to rebuild my practice, again, like I've done so many times before, to have it be even stronger and stronger? So if this happens again in 2 years or in 10 years, I don't have to worry about it near as much as I did this time going in, because this was clearly something very unusual. So it's a great way to easily and quickly start to fill your practice, is through this referral program. Now, again, we already talked about what the agreement is. You can, the questions that you can ask when you start to do your video, some of those questions are, I guide them into always using my name. So when I first started coming to see Jesse James, this is how I was feeling, this is what I was going through. I have them talk a little bit about what they experienced during the session, because if any of you know me, or if any of you I've worked on, you know that it's not easy necessarily getting worked on by me. And so I really want to be able to speak to, it's not easy. You're not going to be experiencing a Swedish massage. That is not what I do. I used to joke and say to people, like, it kills my soul to do Swedish massage, because that is not my gift. My gift is to get in there and get to the source of where stuff came from, and hold space for you to be able to release that out of your DNA, out of your tissue, to be able to move to the other side, so you have harmony and freedom back in your body. So I do, even in my little videos, like sometimes I will show people like writhing in pain, because it shows if you're looking for a Swedish massage, I'm not your guy. So again, like, really speak into what is your unique gift that you're bringing into your sessions, so people really know. Like, John Jay, and he speaks about me on the radio when he talks about his sessions with me, but he holds the entire morning show with John Jay and Rich. But they hold nothing back, and when they talk about me on the radio, and because of that, they talk about sometimes how painful it is, and how amazing and what good results they get, that it attracts, and I get calls from clients wanting to schedule with me because they're looking for that kind of a session. They're not looking for a traditional massage, because it hasn't gotten them the results that they want to get. So I hold nothing back, and I own that. I don't hide that from clients, and I tell them, hey, it's not easy. It is not easy. And that's why one of my logos now that I just developed is I survived the Jesse James method, because it is literally that. And you only get that joke if you've actually been on my table. So I show that in my videos, because it really speaks to, who I am as a therapist and what I bring to the table. And then the next question I ask is, now how are you? Speak to a little bit about, like, what are you experiencing right now? So that's the next question I ask there in the video. And then kind of come up with another question for yourself. One that I really enjoy asking is, what surprised you the most about the session, during the session, or what surprised you the most after the sessions, or just anything that you want to speak to about that. So that just adds kind of a different element, and then sometimes I'll let them say whatever they want to say on top of that. Now, then I try to keep that, I know what my questions are, I keep that super short to maybe 5 minutes, so then when I get ready to edit it, I can get it down to less than 2 minutes. Sometimes that ends up only being a minute testimonial. I'll take the best of the best through all that, make it down to about a minute. And I learned really quickly how to edit, or I'll pay somebody, like on Fiverr, or, I've got a couple editors that I work with that I have them, clean it up for me. And then once you have that initial setup, like we have your intro and outro, if you decide to do that, that you've seen in my videos, then you just plop those in, you clean it up, you have the video in the middle, and then boom, you got it done, you send it out. You load that individually to your YouTube page, you load it individually then to your Facebook page, to your LinkedIn, you load it individually to your Instagram. And you've got your client that's done it, you send it to them via text, and it's a short video, so it can easily go via text, and you ask them to send it out to 10 people. And then it just works. It works. It creates this energy and it creates this action that starts to fill your schedule. So if you're looking right now to fill your schedule, this is a solid video referral program that works. It works every single time. And so I would encourage you right now to, one, make a list of who are those referral partners that you want to work with. And then number two, look at, maybe you've already worked on some clients, or you inside of that list, who are those people that admire you, that are fans of yours, that you can do a session with, that will speak to honestly about your work, that they will be more than happy and more than willing to send that out to their sphere of influence. So that is your homework today. I definitely want to keep the comments coming. I want to engage with you guys. I will definitely respond to every single comment from this live. Thank you so much for being here. Here is your homework for tomorrow. What we covered already today is do those things. That's for today. And here's what we're gonna start working on tomorrow. So, what is your unique gift that you bring to your session? So we talked about that. What are the questions unique to your modality that you want to begin asking during the session to create value and ease and transition for your next session? And then what are the questions you will ask them and guide them through in your video referral program? So write each of those down. 3 things. And then tomorrow we're going to work on conscious communication, start to look at what are each of those pivot points in your communication for the experience and the journey that you're taking your client on. And that is it. That is it. Day 1 complete. Look at that. It's 10:50. We completed 10 minutes early. I'm so excited to get back to you with all of your comments and feedback, and I will answer every one of them. Like I said, I'm really excited to do some live interaction with you guys, and we'll set that up for over the next couple of days. And definitely by Friday, I want to look at what are your full treatment plans that you've created throughout the week. And we're going to look at how we can tweak any of those. We're going to share some of those, because learning through that live interaction is going to be so good. I mean, I always learn something new that I can add into my practice. So again, I'm always bringing that listening for, how is he doing it? How is she doing it? How are they doing it? How is that company doing it? How can I use that inside my practice with everything that I do? So I am deeply honored. I'm grateful that you were here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for being willing to do whatever it takes to start to build your practice. And I am absolutely thrilled to be with you. And I'm absolutely thrilled to watch your practice grow, because what I know is that the more you're able to work with clients, the more people that we get to heal right now in the world. And as a healer, we need more and more of that. And so I am absolutely passionate and excited for you to be filling your practice and filling your schedule. And so thank you for being here, and thank you for taking this time to spend with me and to learn. And I hope this was valuable for you. I hope you've taken something away for yourself that you haven't maybe thought of or seen before. And again, let me know how I can support you. I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.